G'day. Today I want to talk about our fault value, but for everybody who subscribes to this video, an evil spirit will die. Put our fault block on the page. Let's set him up as we would. Let's grab our ramp value. This will be our variable. This could be a temperature or a pressure or a drive speed. Let's grab a one shot. I'm going to extend his delay out to 10 seconds. This will be our trigger, and this will simulate our fault. I'll also grab an add block, which we will use to simulate our COV history. So what does our fault value do? So every 5 seconds, as it's configured, the block will store a value. It stores two values, and on a trigger, a fault trigger, it will make the output equal the second fault value. So how that works is, I'm just going to delete this for now, just for demonstration purposes. Oh, that didn't work as well as I hoped. Let's grab numeric priority. Let's give it a value of 62. So what's happening for now is every 5 seconds, 62 is saved into the block. So, and every second, so if we change this value to 55, why didn't that work? I hate you so much. 55, and then fire a fault. The value that's shot out is 62. So what it's doing is remembering what the value was 5 seconds, between 5 and 10 seconds before the event occurred. What this allows you to do is log values, numeric values, what they were just before it faulted. So if you've got a boiler faulting or a chiller faulting or some kind of weird event that you're having trouble capturing, you can put this fault value block on the page and you can expand this out. So if you wanted to capture, you can make, oops, sorry, wrong block. If you could make this 30 seconds. What this will do is then at the output, it will display what the value was between 30 and 60 seconds ago. So the count will count up. If we change our numeric point now, override this to 30. Have a look at this, wait for this to count up. What it will do is put 30 into the 0 to 30 second slot, and then put 62 or whatever it was into the 30 to 60 second slot. So now if the block goes into fault, we will get that higher value. So it will hold that value for up to 30 seconds. So if we fire this now, it outputs 55 as the fault value. So again, you can configure this to be a minute, which seems a bit redundant because if it's more than a minute, you can actually use the COV to capture the history as it changes. But if it's less than that, if you wanted to know what it was between 1 and 2 seconds ago, you could set this up to 1 second, and every second it will record the value. It's going to be tricky. Override 66. Fire. Out's 30. But now if we fire it, waiting for that timer to expire. Now if we fire it, it will output 66. So every second, it's recording a value. And so now we know what the value was 2 seconds ago. So this way it helps you track down the fault, and it will only log when there's an event. So what you'll see is this, it'd be better if I could spell, wouldn't it? So this COV history will record the value on the receipt of the fault trigger. So when it clears, it won't change. So the idea is every time it faults, you should get a new value, a different value. You can see how often it's faulting, and the log's much easier to view. We have had this configured so that it would output a value when the fault cleared. So you would know when the fault cleared, but ultimately you can log the fault to get that information. What's important with this is what the value was just prior to the fault. So I'm hoping this is useful for you. It certainly has been useful for us in the past. It's more of a tool, a diagnostic tool to help you find hard to find problems. Because sometimes your programs can be very complicated, and it can help you understand what value it was just before the event, not at the time of the event. Because sometimes it's what happens leading up that is causing the problem, not what happens at the time of the event. Because we've found that with chillers or other things like that, the fault signal can come through seconds after the equipment has stopped. So the fault can be delayed. So this can be used to compensate for that so you can actually get real-time values of when the unit stops. Hope this was useful. If it was, leave a like. Don't forget, everybody who subscribes to this video will kill an evil spirit. Thank you.